All right, good evening again. Okay, so this is the second half of my lecture. Sorry for the technical problems which you encounter in the course of my first half of the lecture. The thing is that when we came to the minute number, I think that 37, there was some interference which prevented you from hearing my voice. So I think that I have to go back, to that again, in order for you to just see the video, on the Facebook Live. Okay, as I mentioned, I also do the recording of my teaching using the iPhone as well. And at the end of my lecture, I'm going to just make this teaching available to you. Okay, I'm going to upload this file on YouTube. Okay, so that you can just view it. At your own convenience. Okay, so welcome again. Okay, again, if you say something wrong, then you can just interpret the matter to me. Okay, so that I can just make correction or adjustment just in the nick of time. Okay, so okay, now I'm going to the screen now. Okay, if you cannot hear me, okay, please call me. Okay, please call me. Okay, I try now. I try to place my, the mobile phone, away from my computer and away from my loudspeaker in order to prevent, any possibility of interference again. Okay. Right. Good evening again. Now I'm going to just go to look at it to check on the screen. I think maybe every 10 minutes. Okay, to make sure that you are fine. Okay, let me have a drink. Okay, good. Remember during the first half of my lecture, I have introduced to you the application of the CISG. What is important is that in order for a contract to be governed by the CISG, in order for a contract of sale to be governed by the CISG, you need to make sure that the internationality requirements according to the CISGs are met. We have seen that already. Remember, according to Article 11A or 11B. 11A mentions what? 11A addresses the direct application. 11B directs the indirect application. That is something which has been said already. So you can just go to, you can just go back to my lecture on this point. And as I have brought your attention, the CISG just focuses on what? The CISG, in order for a contract in question to be governed by the CISG, you need to meet the internationality requirements. The CISG does not pay attention to what? The CISG just disregards first nationality. It doesn't matter, whether A is Thai, whether A is, A has, A is the Singapore national, A is the German national. No, nationality does not count at all. So the CISG does not pay attention to nationality. And the second one is this. The CISG does not look at the civil or commercial character of the parties at all, and CISG ignores also civil or commercial characters of the contract. That is said in the Article 1.3, of the CISG. According to Article 1.3, neither the nationality of the parties nor the civil or commercial character of the parties, or of the contract is to be taken into consideration in determining the application of this convention. So it doesn't matter whether A is Singaporean, A is English, A is German, A is Austrian. It doesn't matter. The CISG does not look at nationality at all. And CISG, as I have mentioned, does not look at any civil or commercial characters of the parties or of the contract at all. And I have also, mentioned to you, but unfortunately, this mention was not heard by you, because of some interference or technical problems, in the course of my lecture, previously. So I think that I need to just say this again, Even though CISG applies to contracts for international sales of goods, provided that the internationality requirements are met according to Article 11A or 11B of the CISG. Okay, but one thing which we have to bear in mind is that CISG also contains exceptions or exclusions. Okay, CISG does include some sales or some transactions from the application of the CISG. Okay, there are three things. The first one is the consumer sale. The second one is, the second one, it is something to do with certain types of sales or certain types of goods. Okay, certain types of sales or certain types of goods are excluded from the application of the CISG. Okay, the third one is that there are some transactions which are regarded as not pure sale, okay, even though they look like sale at the beginning, simply because they involve sort of delivery of goods. But if we consider the contract carefully, we will see that in the contract in question, it is not purely a sale at all. Okay, it is a purely sale. Okay. Even though that it is, that it is in a way, okay, that involves with the delivery of goods. Okay, we will look at this in turn. Beginning with the first one. The first one is that consumer sales are placed outside the application of the CISG. CISG is intended to apply to the sales only when the sale is a commercial sale. If the same question is the so-called the consumer sale, then CISG does not apply at all. Permit me to have a drink first, okay? Right. The consumer sale exclusion, it is contained in the Article 2A of the CISG. If you look at 2A says that this convention does not apply to sales of goods bought for personal, family, or household use. Right, so that if you buy something for your own use, if you buy something for your family, if you buy something for your household use, then your contract of sale is not brought within the application of the CISG at all. Okay, but if you go on the reading, the provision of Article 2A, you will see this expression, okay? Unless the seller at the time before or at the conclusion of the contract neither knew nor ought to have known that the goods were bought for any such use. That means that when a sale in question is made for personal use or for family use or for household use, it is not a sale only when the seller knew about that personal use or that family use or that household use, or should have known about that. If the seller did not know and should not have known about that, then the CISG will still apply. Right. The key word is that if you buy something for personal use, for family use, or for household use, and the seller knew or should have known of such use, then it is considered as a consumer sale, so that the CISG will not apply to that contract. Okay, so the keyword is what? So keyword is the keyword is sale of goods bought for personal, family, or household use. Okay. But the thing is that we have to consider whether or not a sale in question is a consumer sale in the sense of buying something for personal use, family use, or household use or not. You have to consider these transactions. Can I just go to the screen to have a check, whether you are all right, okay? At the moment, are you all right? Okay, I think that some of you here are watching, okay? I do not get any phone call from anyone telling me about something wrong, okay? So that I should presume that things seem to be all right at the moment. Okay, Warren, if you encounter any technical problem, can you make a phone call to me to let me know of the problem? Okay, thank you very much for that. I'm grateful for your help. Okay, thank you, Warren. You are such a very good student. Okay, I'm sure that you will have a great success, okay, because you are a very, very good student, okay, Warren. I admire you very much, okay. Good. Now back to my desk, okay. Now let's have a look at this. Let's have a look at this transactions. I forget to just check at my iPhone, okay, to make sure that the video which I'm now recording seems to be all right. Okay, now we are, that we are videoing this, this lecture, okay, that I have got about, I see the time, okay, running on my iPhone, okay, now is 10 minutes, 55 seconds, okay, fine, okay. So if something wrong, if there is anything wrong, okay, with regard to the Facebook Live, okay, I'm going to just upload the video file, which I am recording, okay, on my iPhone, okay, onto YouTube, okay, for your viewing. Good, back to my desk now, okay. Look at these transactions and tell me whether or not a sale in question is a consumer sales in the sense of buying something for personal use, family use, or the household use, okay. In the example number 1, okay, we have a sale by tourist. Let's say that Borowi goes to Japan on tour. During the being on tour of Japan, Borowi purchased, let's say that, a camera. Is that a consumer sale? The answer is yes, because Borowi just make a purchase for his own use, for his personal use, so that even though let's say that Warraby has a place of business in Germany, and of course Japan is a CISG state, okay. So Japan has now joined the CISG, okay. So that even though we have the internationality requirements, i.e. Two parties have places of business in different contracting states, right? But CISG does not apply to this agreement simply because it is considered as just a consumer sales in the sense that, okay, it is bought for what? The product here is bought for just personal use or household use, so that the CISG will not apply. It's not the intention of the CISG to apply to a consumer sale, okay? So it is clear from the first example that CISG does not apply. Now let's have a look at the example number 2, okay, and tell me whether or not the same question is a consumer sale or a non-consumer sale. Okay, let's suppose that somebody also bought a camera, okay, during the tour of Japan, okay. But the thing is that that person is a photographer. He just purchased a camera for using it, okay, for his profession in this case. Is that considered as a consumer sale? We have to, interpret this provisions of law, okay, and we have to apply this law to the facts, okay. The law say that it is a consumer sale if it is a purchase for what? For personal use, okay, or family use or household use. Given that in this case, the person who buys this camera, he is a photographer and he has purchased this camera for use in his profession. Okay, so in this case, we perhaps cannot consider that is a consumer sale. We cannot consider that the sale, the purchase here, okay, it is for personal use or for family use, okay, because it is used for the profession. All right, so that that is the question of the application of law. Okay, you have to interpret the provisions of law, okay, in order to suit the facts. Okay, now moving on to the example, the next example, a sale of toiletries. The sale of toiletries by a business, okay, for personal use of this company's employees. Let's suppose that the company A company A has purchased a lot of toiletries, okay, for use by this company's employees. Even though it is for personal use of employees, but the thing is that those employees work for the company, so that the sales question cannot be considered as a sale for the family use or personal use or household use, because it is used by the company for its own business, so that the sale in the example number 3 here may not be perceived of as a consumer sale. It is a non-consumer sale, so that CISG can apply if the internationality requirements are met. Okay, now according to the last example here, we have in this example a sale of a single automobile by a dealer for resale. Let's say that a car dealer just purchases a car for resale. Okay, in this case, even though it is a sale of just a single car, just one car, okay, but the sale is intended to be made for resale when the purpose is for resale. Wait. I get the red signal, okay? I get the red signal telling me that the battery just becomes low, okay, so that I have now changed the microphone to the new one here, okay, just with which is equipped with full battery, okay? Now, all right, back to this one. Even though the sale in question, it is a sale of just only one car, but it is for resale. When the purpose of this sale is for resale, can we say that this sale is this goods? Okay, this car is bought for personal use, family use, or household use. I don't think so in this case. Okay, so because when the purpose is for resale, so that when the purpose is for resale, we can conclude that the same question, it is not a consumer sale. It is a non-consumer sale, so that if the international requirements according to Article 11A or 11B are met, then CISG can also apply. Okay, now let's have a look at this one now. Okay. Now we come to exclusion number 2. Okay, if we go back to this slide, we can see that we have the exceptions or the exclusions from the application of the CISG. We have seen the first exclusion, i.e. that a consumer sale is not governed by the CISG. The consumer sales are placed outside the application of the CISG. Okay, now we come to the exclusion number 2, maybe this one is number 2, okay? Another exclusion is this one, okay? There are some transactions which look like sales at the beginning, but when we consider them carefully, we will know that they are not pure sale, even though they are involved with some delivery of goods. They are not pure sale, okay? CISG just speak of this one in 2 scenarios. The scenario 1 is this. Okay, the scenario 1 is the one in which somebody just order the goods, or somebody just asks somebody else to manufacture the goods. Okay, when you order the goods, or when you just ask somebody to manufacture the goods, is that a sale? The CISG say that, well, yes, if A just employ B to build something, okay, or to do something, okay, which involves delivery of the product, it may be the sale. Let's say that I am A, you are B. I engage you to produce shoes. Right. CISG say that, well, it may be the sale. It is not the sale if the one who, the one who order provides or supplies, the one who order undertakes to supply a substantial part of the material necessary for such manufacture or production. Okay, this is scenario number one. We are going to come back to this scenario later, but let me just tell you these two scenarios first. Okay, this scenario number one is what I have mentioned to you. Now we are coming to scenario number two. In the scenario number two, okay, the scenario number two involves the situation where there is the combination between provision of labor or services and delivery. That means that the contract in question involves both supply of services or labor and the delivery of goods. Okay, will that contract be considered as sales? We will talk about that later. So now we deal with these two scenarios. These two scenarios are they are listed in Article 3 of the CISG. So if you look at Article 3 of the CISG, Article 3, 1 and 2, 3, 1 deal with scenario number 1, while 3, 2 deals with the scenario number 2, which we have earlier mentioned. Now we're coming to scenario number 1. If you look at the wording here, okay, contracts for the supply of goods to be manufactured or produced, or to be considered sales, unless the party who orders the goods undertakes to supply a substantial part of the materials necessary for such manufacture or production. Okay, so in a way, this contract involves what? The rule is that, okay, when somebody does, order the goods from somebody else, when A order the goods from B, okay, when A order the goods from B and asks B to manufacture those goods or to produce those goods, will that be considered as a sale? Okay. In this country, we have also a distinction between sale and the so-called hire of work, or in Thai จ้างทำของ remember? Okay. When let's say that I am A, you are B, I employ you to produce shoes. Okay, I employ you to produce, let's say that the 2,000 pairs of shoes. Is this contract sales? CISG say that if you look at Article 3.1 say that, well, in this situation, the situation where one person, that engage another person to manufacture or to produce the goods, that is also considered as sale. This is the rule, okay? But there is the exception. Okay. The rule is that it is also a sale when A employs or hires B to produce goods for A. That is also considered as sale. But the exception is this. When A employs B to produce or to manufacture the goods for A, the rule is that it's the sale, except that if A, undertake to supply a substantial part of the materials necessary for such manufacture or production, it will not be sale. A employ B, to produce or manufacture, manufacture what? Manufacture, let's say, oil tankers. Let's suppose that A, Okay, A undertake to supply a substantial part of materials. So, a substantial part of materials which are necessary for producing these goods are from A. In this case, it will not be considered as a sale. Why so? Because if A sells something to B, if A sells this to B, the thing is that A will have to deliver the goods to B. A will have to transfer the ownership in these goods to B. A will have to transfer the title, okay, in these goods to B. But when A, put the other way around, okay? Let's say that when A employ, okay, B, or when A engages B to make the goods for A, and on the facts, it is A that that supply the material part of the substantial part of the material. So in this case, when A undertake to supply a substantial part of the materials for this transaction, the ownership, okay, the ownership in what? The ownership in the goods, okay. The ownership in the goods rests with A from the beginning, because A undertakes to supply a substantial part of the materials. How can we say that A transfer ownership in the goods to B? In this case, when A at the beginning owned, the substantial part of materials, in this case, it will not be considered as the sale. Right, so I think that the reason seems to be quite clear. The reason behind the provision of law seems to be quite clear, okay? Wait, now, because now I switch off the air conditioner because I suspected that, that it is the air conditioner which caused interference. But now I believe that it is not the air conditioner which caused interference. Let me just turn on the air conditioner because I feel very warm, very hot in this room now, okay? Are you still all right? Kanyarat, Muan Thong and Warawi, are you still all right? Can you tell me whether you can still hear me all right now? Okay, Warawi, send me the message, okay, to tell me whether everything is still fine. Can I hear some words from Warawi now? Okay, the recording seems to be fine now. Yes, Varavi say yes. Very good, Varavi. Okay, you are still a very good student. Okay, and also I get a message from Farida Niti Utai. Okay, Farida Niti Utai saying that everything is operating very fine. Very good, very good. Okay, I am grateful to all of you who bring the message to me. Okay, everybody seems to be very cooperative. Okay. Paraya China Wei. Okay, then thank you very much for all of you. Okay, now I'm going back to my desk. Okay, good. Okay, now I hope that is clear to you. Okay, back to the scenario number one. Just now we have seen that when we get a contract whereby a person engages the other one, okay, to manufacture or to produce the goods. Okay, that is also considered as a sale, except that where A, okay, who engages B, A who engages B to produce the goods for A, undertakes to supply a substantial part of the materials necessary for the manufacture or production of the goods. In that case, it is not a sale anymore because it is A who owns, a large part, or to use the wording of the CISG, it is A who owns, a substantial part of the materials at the beginning. So that in this case, we cannot say that A transfer, that we cannot say that B, okay, when A engages B to produce the goods for A. Okay, And on the facts, it is A who provides a substantial part of the materials in order for B to manufacture the goods for A. When a substantial part of the materials, okay, is from A, that means that when this is from A at the beginning, that means that A owns, that A owns this thing, A owns a large part of this product at the beginning. So that in this case, we cannot perceive that B can transfer the ownership in this goods to A when A earn, a large or, a substantial part of the materials at beginning. If it is like this, then that transaction is not a sale, so that it does not fall within the application of the CISG at all. Right, so the reasons seem to be very straightforward. Okay, so now we are coming to the exception number 2. Sorry, before going to the exception number 2, okay, the keyword of the first scenario is this one. The keyword is the substantial part of the materials. How do you know? How do you determine? How do you determine a substantial part of the materials? If we look at the digest, the CISG digest, we can see that we can just have a test, on the basis of what? On the basis of quantitative consideration, and also in some cases on the basis of qualitative consideration. Okay, we can resort to a quantitative test. Looking at the quantity, let's suppose that A engaged B to manufacture something for A. Okay, the A does employs or hires B to manufacture something for A. Okay, in this case, let's suppose that this thing require material number 1, number 2, number 3, number 4 to number 10. Okay, number 1, number 2, number 3, number 4, number 5, number 6 to number 10. Let's suppose that A provides the material number 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and 7. So, and the remaining three items are from B. In this case, we can see that in terms of quantity, A provides a very large quantity. Okay, A provides item number 1 to number 7, while B provides just 3 out of 10 items. In this case, when we do the qualitative test, we can see that A undertake to provide what? A undertake to supply a substantial part of the material, so that in this case, the contract between A and B will not be considered as a sale, okay, because A, okay, owns all of this. A owns the material number 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 at the beginning. How can we say that? How can we say in the situation that B transfer, ownership to A? This is why the CISG say that if A, asks B to manufacture, if A employs B to manufacture or to produce the goods for A, and A undertakes to supply a substantial part of the materials necessary for the production of those goods, then in this case, it is not the contract between A and B is not a sale. Okay, but sometimes we also resort to the qualitative test. That means that not just quantity but quality. Again, the contract is made between A and B, whereby A engages B to produce the goods for A, and those goods require, right, the material. Let's suppose that the contract requires the supply of require the material number 1 to number 10. Okay, A supply just material number 1 and number 2, while B provide material number 3 to 10. In this case, even though A undertakes to supply just material number 1 and number 2, but let's suppose that the material number 1 and number 2 are very, very important. Okay, so that even though that in terms of the amount, in terms of the quantity, okay, it is not substantial enough. But in terms of quality, okay, these two items are very, very important. Out of these 10 items, item number 1 and number 2 represent the most crucial items. In this case, we can consider that A undertakes to supply a substantial part of the materials necessary for the manufacture or production of these goods for A, so that in this case the contract between A and B is not considered as a sale item. Okay, this is the exception number 1. Now we're coming to the I try to skip some slides, okay, because the time may not permit me to cover everything. So that if you have your own time, okay, you can go and have a look at the remaining slides which are not covered by my lecture. Okay, now we are coming to the scenario number 2. The scenario number 2, okay, which represents the exception. The exception is this one. Okay, if in the contract consent, if the contract consent involves a combination between two things. Right now, my loudspeaker switch off by itself again. Okay, so now I have to just put it back to its own function. All right. Let me have a look at the screen now to check whether I get your message. Okay, telling me some problems so far so good. Okay, you can still hear me now. Okay, very, very, very good. Okay. Now back to this one. Oh my God! How many slides left? 12. About 12 slides left. Okay, before I finish, this fine. Now, when there is a combination between two things, the first thing is supply of labor or services. The second thing is delivery of the goods. When a contract in question involves a combination between the two things like this, okay, we will have to consider whether or not it is the sale. Now let's have a look at what is said in the CISG, where we have the combination of the two like this. According to Article 3.2 of the CISG, this convention does not apply to contracts in which the preponderant part of the obligations of the party who furnishes the goods consists in the supply of labor or other services. That means what? That means that when we have a contract which is concerned with the combination between supply of labor or services and delivery of goods, we will have to compare the value. We will have to compare the value between the two things here. Okay, if the value in respect of the labor or services is very large, or to use the language in the CISG, if the obligations which constitute the supply of labor or services, okay, if the obligation involving the supply of the labor or services is the preponderant part, then that is not the sale, it is something else, so that the CISG will not apply. So according to Article 3.2 of the CISG, we need to compare what? We need to compare the economic value between labor and services and the goods. Which one is larger? Which one represents, the preponderant part? If the economic value of the labor or services is the preponderant part, then the contract in question will not be the sale. But if the economic value consisting of the labor or services seem to be small, it seems to be trivial, or seem to be not comparable to the economic value, in the goods, in the part which deal with the goods, then that is the sale. I think that we have a lot of examples, which involve the combination between the two, i.e. between the provision of labor or services and the delivery of the goods. Again, back to this slide. If we have a contract which is concerned with the combination between the two, i.e. the supply of labor or services and the delivery of the goods, we will have to compare the economic value between the two. Which one is larger? Which one represents, to use the language of the CISG, which one represents the preponderant part? All right. Now let's have a look at some example. We can see a contract which involves the combination of the delivery of the goods and also provision of some labor or services. Sometimes we get a contract for delivery of goods plus the obligation to do the installation. The goods or the product will have to be installed. Now, the obligation consists of two parts. The first part is the delivery of goods. The second part is installation. In this case, we have to compare, the value or economic value of these two parts. Which one is the preponderant part? So if the cost or if the price which is charged for its installation is quite small, that is considered as sale because the large part of the price consists of the delivery of the goods. In this case, the contract in question is considered as a sale rather than the contract for the supply of service per se. So when we get a sale plus something else which is concerned with the supply of labor or services, if the obligation which consists of the supply of labor or services, it is not the preponderant part, then the contract in question is considered as a sale nonetheless. Sometimes we get the combination, we get a mixture between what? Between the delivery of the goods and the assembly. Parts of the goods which are going to be delivered to the buyer need to be assembled by the seller. The seller will have to undertake to first deliver the goods. Secondly, assembling, we have to assemble the goods. So two obligations, delivery and assembly. If the cost of assembly is something quite small, something not quite comparable to the economic value in the part which is concerned with the delivery of the goods, then the contract in question is what? If the cost of the assembly seems to be small, not comparable to the part which deal with the delivery of goods, then that is a sale. But if the economic value of the part which deal with the assembly of some parts of the goods represent the preponderant part, in that case it is not a sale. Sometimes we also get a contract which require the party who deliver the goods also to provide some training. In a way, it is a contract whereby A okay, deliver the product to B, and A is also required to do the training for B. Let's say that B purchases, a very important medical equipment or medical device. And when B buy this medical device from A, the contract between A and B also requires A to provide some training. A, the seller, will have to train B personnel how to use this, instrument or this medical device. So the contract consists of two parts: the part which deal with supply of services or supply of labor, and the part which deal with the delivery of the goods. Let's suppose that the price, okay, the large part of the price is from delivery of goods. The price, okay, which is from the training, the remuneration which is from the training seem to be something very small. In this case, the contract, okay, in question, it is going to be considered as a sale, okay, even though we get the combination between supply of the labor or services and the delivery of the goods. If the cost which involves the training seem to be so small, that application, it is not the preponderant part of the application, so that the contract in question, it is also the sale. But if the provision of labor seem to cost a lot, so that it is the preponderant part of the application, then it is not the sale. It is, some of the contract, it may be, in this country, it may be called a contract of hire of work or จ้างทำของ all right. In some of the countries, this kind of contract may be called, okay, by any other name, right? Now again, the CISG just uses the wording preponderant part if we have the combination between the two, the supply of labor or services and the delivery of the goods. If the application which consists of the provision of labor or services is the preponderant part, then that contract is not a sale. So the question which we have to go through is how to determine the preponderant part. Of course, in this case, we have, okay, to just do the comparison as I have mentioned. Okay, we have example. This is a real case which has been brought, okay, to I can't remember, to the court or to the arbitral tribunal. Okay, for your information. Okay, the UNCITRAL, the United Nations Commission on International Trade Law, or UNCITRAL, has established a database for storing, the cases which have been brought before the court or which have been brought before the tribunal, arbitral tribunal. Okay, those cases, cases which are found on such database, those cases are called CLOUT cases. Okay, cloud cases. Okay, CLOUT stand for Case Law on UNCITRAL. Case Law on UNCITRAL. Okay, the purpose of setting up this database is this. The CISG promotes uniformity. Okay, if this case happen here and country A decide this way, and the same case, the case with the same facts occur in country B, and the court of country B decide this case in a different way, then there is no uniformity. So in order for promoting uniformity, CISG just got cases which have been brought before the court or which have been brought before the arbitral tribunal in order for the court or tribunal to look at. Okay, if the tribunals or the courts decide cases in the same way, then we can just promote the uniformity of the application of the CISG. Okay, so you can find many CLOUT cases again on the the CISG database. In fact, sorry, the Untitled database. Okay, so in this case, every case has the number. Now we talk about cloud case number 152, CLOUT case number 152. This case was concerned with what? This case was concerned with a contract which required, the delivery of what? Delivery of the second-hand hangar. The hangar is what? Hangar is a place for storing the aircraft. Somebody just wanted to buy the hangar, but the contract required, let's say A. Okay, A try to, the A and B, they made a contract whereby A would deliver this hangar to B, and A would also have to dismantle this hangar for B. The hangar would have to be removed, okay, and relocated for B. In this case, the contract consists of two parts. The part which deals with what? Delivery of the goods, i.e. the hangar, and the part which deals with the dismantling of this hangar. And on the facts, okay, when we look at the end-time price, we could see that the remuneration which represented, the dismantling service, okay, accounted only for 25% of the total price. So the cost of dismantling service accounted for 25% of the total price. In this case, the application which dealt with the supply of service was not the preponderant part of the application, so that in this case, the contract in question was still considered as a sale. If we go back, to what is said in the article 3.2 of the CISG. Okay, this convention does not apply to contract in which the preponderant part of the obligation of the party who furnishes the goods consists in the supply of labor or other services, so that if the venue which is concerned with the provision of labor or other services seem to be quite small, it cannot be considered as the preponderant part of of the obligation, so that the contract in question, it is still a sale. Okay, so I mean that this is also the exclusion, okay, of the transaction determined from the the application of CISG. If we get a contract which deal with two part, the part dealing with the supply of service, supply of labor services, and the part which is concerned with the delivery of the goods. If the part which deal with the supply of labor or services is the preponderant part, then it will not be the same. Now, before I leave this topic, okay, let's get back to the exception. Okay, we have seen exception number 1, exception number 2. Now, we will look at exception number 3 here. Okay, something in between here. Okay, certain types of the sales or certain types of goods will be placed outside the application of the CISG. Okay, now we can see this exclusion, okay, in Article 2B to F. If you look at them in 2B, okay, 2B to F here. Okay, you can see that these are the sales or the transactions which are placed outside the application of the CISG, even though they may be the sale, but okay, it is felt that they should not fall within the application of the CISG. You look at this item, the sale by auction, the sale on execution or otherwise by authority of law, the sale of stocks, shares, investment securities, negotiable instruments, or money, the sale of ships, vessel, aircraft, or aircraft, the sale of electricity. These are not governed by the CISG. Why so? The reasons seem to be quite complicated. For some items, it was felt at the time that it should be outside the application of the CISG, because the negotiation seem to take a long time. Sometimes many countries seem to have the debate as to whether CISG should include this and that. Sometimes the consensus didn't seem to be reached quite easily, so that the law drafters or the representatives of of each country seem to say that in order for the CISG, in order for the convention to be reached, then we should bring these items out of the application of the CISG, so that we can reach consensus, quite soon, something like that, The reason why CISG includes this and that seem to be something related to the promotion of consensus, right? If some matters seem to be hard to get consensus, then those matters seem to be placed outside the application of the CISG. Now, before we end this topic, we should also see that. Let me go to the final part of my lecture. There are a couple of things which are placed outside the application of the CISG. First, the matters which deal with validity of the contract. Those matters are not governed by the CISG. Those matters are placed outside the application of the CISG. They are placed outside the scope of application of the CISG. When we talk about what? When we talk about the validity, we think of many issues. Let's say that, when we talk about the issue regarding what? Regarding, let's say that the contract becoming void or voidable, whether or not a contract will become void or will become voidable, that is a matter dealing with the validity, so that is not governed by the CISG. CISG just place the matters dealing with the validity outside the scope of application of the CISG. Look at that. Let's say that when we talk about the mistake, whether or not the contract between A and B is void or voidable on the ground of mistake, whether or not a contract is voidable on the ground of duress, misrepresentations, or fraud, or whether this contract was enforceable or unenforceable due to the lack of consideration, all these matters are considered as those which are concerned with validity of a contract, so that those matters do not fall within the scope of application of the CISG. This is according to Article 4 of the CISG. Article 4 says that this convention governs only the formation of the contract of sale and the rights or obligations of the seller and the buyer arising from such contract. In particular, except as otherwise expressly provided in this convention, it is not concerned with the validity of a contract. See? So if we deal with the question as to whether or not a contract is void or is voidable for some reason, we will have to determine that matter by reference to the domestic law. Not the CISG. We have to consider considered that by reference to the law outside the CISG. Also, one thing which is placed outside the application of CISG is the property in the goods. Property means what? Property here means ownership. So if we deal with the question of the passing of ownership, the transfer of ownership, this is not to be dealt with by the CISG. Okay, the passing of property of ownership, it is not something falling within the scope of application of the CISG. Okay, the reason for the excluding this matter from the application of the CISG, it is that this matter seems to be very complicated. Okay, different countries have different rules with respect to the transfer or the passing of the property or ownership. So that means if CISG would say something about this, okay, it would be hard to reach consensus. Okay, now, right, have a look at have a look at the one more thing. Okay, one more thing which is not included in the application or in the in the scope of application of the CISG is this. Okay, the matters which concern liability of the seller for death or personal injury. I mean, these matters are not to be dealt with by the CISG. Let's say that A, the seller, okay, sell a car to B, okay, and after A has delivered the car to B, this car has a defect and causes, let's say that, physical injury to B. Okay, the matter concerning the physical injury like this, it is not the matter dealt with by the CISG. It should be dealt with by specific law. It should be dealt with by a separate body of law. Maybe the law of tort, maybe the law of product liability, the law on product liability. Okay, so it is not the intention of the CISG to cover this kind of thing. Okay, so this matter, it is also placed outside the application of the CISG as well. Okay, so when we have excluded the matters, okay, some matters out of the scope of the application of the CISG, we ask the question that what matters fall within the scope of application of the CISG. Okay, CISG will deal with first, formation of the contract. Secondly, obligation of the parties, obligation of the seller and the buyer, and it also deals with the passing of risk, not the passing of property. Remember, the passing of property or ownership, it is not dealt with by the CISG. It is dealt with by a separate body of law. Okay, CISG also deals with what? Also deals with breach and remedy, and it also deals with exception of liability in the case of force majeure. Okay, we will explore all these matters. Okay, the after this. Okay. Let's have a look at the time now. It's 8 something now. Okay, sorry, it's 2 minutes to, it's 1 minute to 8. Okay, I think that means we will have a break, the second break, and then after the break, okay, a short break for about 5 minutes. Okay, then we will come back. Okay, to consider the formation of contract. All right. So let's have a break right now. Thank you. See you soon.